Hi, I'm Dr. Wendy Norfleet, and I am here today with my fellow entrepreneurs to talk about entrepreneurship. There has been an increase in people starting businesses, and we would love to share with you our reasons for starting businesses. So you guys, we're here to start talking about business.
Yep.
And I know briefly what each of you do, so I'm just going to call out names. And Serena, I'm going to call you out. You can say your full name. And why don't you tell us about, although you have a lot of businesses, you're going to have to narrow it down a little bit.
Serial entrepreneur, it's all good. Okay, so I am Serena Moore Thomas, and my entrepreneurial journey is pretty interesting because I didn't start like many business owners. So I didn't have a lot of money and the savings and get investors and loans and things like that. I actually started as a single teenage mother. I started my business right after high school. Found out I was having twins. And so while my friends were preparing to go to college and have an awesome summer, I was preparing for single parenthood and 2 babies.
Wow.
And so I started working with my father on a construction site. And I worked in the office, he worked in the field, and he came to me and said, Serena, I just found out a contractor was giving a 6-figure contract to do what I'm doing. So if you can figure out how to start a business, I'll do the service, we can have our own business. And that's where the idea came from for the very first business I started, which was a construction site cleaning business. No money, no investors. We didn't know what we were doing. I was literally not Googling, but AOL browsing.
That was before Google, right?
Dial-up internet, unplug the computer, plug in the phone. I mean, we didn't have any resources. But that business started in my brother's old bedroom, grew to a multi-million-dollar business in 6 years. Wow. And we began to employ people. I've employed as many as 83 people. It allowed me to be on the cover of magazines and travel and speak and do other things. And so that was my first business. And now I'm on to my 4th business, which will be my largest to date. So I've been able to do quite a bit in the small business space, and it's been an exciting roller coaster ride.
Right. That's been impressive, and I've actually been to your location, so it's very impressive.
It's a roller coaster.
I know.
Isn't
And I don't know about everybody else, but I didn't have any money when I started either. So I never looked for investors or anything. I figured, okay, I'm gonna put me in, sweat equity and whatever I had in savings and stuff. So I do applaud you for that, because it's that way. It's 100% yours. You don't have to worry about anybody else.
That's true. That's true.
So Maurice, you have a different story. So first, tell us full name and then a little bit about you and your company.
Maurice Hicks Jr. That's my government name, but
That's my government name.
Yeah, as an artist and a nickname when I was growing up, since I've been 11 years old, I've been Uncle Reese. I probably would have came out with a cooler name had I made it up myself, but the neighborhood I moved to Jacksonville. They were like, man, you got an old soul, man, so you kind of act like our cool uncle. So I was everybody's uncle, I guess. Right. And but like Serena, when I started my business, I didn't have any money. I didn't even know what to do. I didn't have anybody to call. Nobody in my family had ever been in the music industry. And so I didn't know what to do. I just knew that I had a love for music. And I knew that I was better than everybody else. And that's a good sign of maybe what you should do. It's like I didn't have to practice as hard as anybody else. I just knew music. I understood music theory. And people that studied music, they would marvel at my talent of just knowing sound and being like, hey, yeah, being able to balance sounds and stuff. So it's always interesting when you're good at something. You want to do what you win at. But so that's the talent aspect, because we all have talents, we all have abilities, but when you try to take what you're doing and monetize it, that's a whole different animal. Yeah. So I didn't have any money, didn't have anybody to call, didn't even know anybody. I just knew that without a shadow of a doubt, I didn't want to end my life doing anything else. So I had a saying like, there is no other option. Like, I don't have a plan B. And I did probably what most people would advise me in life to do. You know, I had parents that loved me. I had people that loved me. I had teachers that loved me. But I was like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to pursue anything else but this. And so for the next probably 7 years of my life, I took the worst jobs ever. I did any job you can think of. I did day labor, collections. I did whatever I could to have the freedom to keep my mind to be able to do music. And I'll be honest, 95% of people that come into this business end up with nothing. So, you know, I don't want to give a false reality, and people come to me like, hey, should I do music? I'm like, I'll be honest, man, like, I'm in the 1%, man, like, you know. So I took the worst jobs, did what I had to do, slept on people's couches, struggled through it, waited tables, anything you could think for extra money to be able to travel and be at this show and network with this person and do this. And I ended up writing this song called Until I Pass Out. And I wrote the song. And this is why the music industry and culture is funny, because I write this song, I do a music video, I'm so excited. I spent every penny that I had. And then I remember when my song released, everybody I knew was like, man, I'm gonna buy it. It's gonna be, man, dude, you're good. We support you.
Always say that,
oh,
right?
man. And I will never forget getting that first check from iTunes. This is when they mailed the checks. So I get that first check, and I'm like, $12?
I'm rich.
No, I was furious. I was so mad at everybody.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, wow, like I spent every penny I had.
For $12.
And I'm not just spent every penny, I'm in debt.
Yeah.
And so I met my wife, her name is Carrie, and I'll be honest, every musician needs a wife, because that gave me a reason to plant my feet in something. And so I was like, well, you know, music really isn't working out. I got to take care of this woman now. And so, you know, I got a job and was like, well, you know what, let me go ahead and finish my degree. I got 22 more credits. Let me go back to school. And I was just working one day at my job as a bill collector while I was pursuing finishing my degree. And I just got a call from some football players, and they hit me up on Twitter and was like, hey, is this your song? I was like, yeah. It was like, what do you need to pursue your career? I was like, 30 grand. And they just sent me the money.
Wow.
Oh.
And
That's a blessing.
yeah, it was really a blessing. And people were like, hey, how do you know T.D. Jakes? I'm like, I don't really know T.D. Jakes. They was like, look at his Twitter. He's tweeting about you. I'm like, word? So from him tweeting about me to the phone calls starting to happen, and it's just like that song was 2 years old.
By the
And
time it took off, right?
it made a total of maybe $40, and then one day the right person heard it, and you know, the rest is history. And I've been able to live a beautiful life, have a wild ride of just excitement, places that I never thought I would be. But I learned a very valuable lesson in life, not from my experiences, but from the experience and the failures of other people. So now I'm at a place that I've been poor since I left my parents' house. You know, my parents, they were pretty well off, but I think when I turned 18, I discovered, wow, I'm actually poor. You know, I thought we had it. I thought we had it going on. My parents were like, no, we have it going on.
Yeah.
You're poor.
heard that.
Yeah.
Good luck.
So yeah, exactly. So, but that really helped me, because when I started making money, I knew how to live with nothing. And so I saw the stories, I saw the interviews, I watched Unsung, and so I had a culmination of all these stories of artists that were broke and had nothing. And so I was like, you know what? I have to learn about the business of what I'm doing, because I've seen it happen so bad for so many of my favorite artists. that I need to understand that ownership is everything. And so I fought. I own 100% of I own all my music. I've been offered, and imagine making $12.50 an hour, and you go, and a limo comes and picks you and 3 of your friends up. They take you to the Sony building. You're sitting with the president of RCA Inspirational, and they offer you $75,000 a song, and you got 10 songs and you're poor. But yet and still, I remembered that lesson, and I said, you know what? I'll pass. So walking away from that 7 years ago to receiving those residuals now, it's like I'm semi-retired, like, you know, because I held on to ownership of my music.
Yeah.
And so I'll be getting paid for the next 100 years for work I've done. And so, you know, and I just want to encourage people, you know, it is about educating yourself.
Yeah.
We all have our own experiences, but, you know, at the end of the day, you should have a lot of fun doing it, and you should retain a lot of your money. Because it ain't about how much you make, it's about how much you keep.
For sure.
I think a lot of everybody can say that. So thanks, that was great. Josue, all right, you got a little music too, so tell us a little bit about how your company's music and coffee go together, and which came first?
So, okay,
Name
yeah.
first.
My name is Josue Angel Cruz, and I am a serial entrepreneur as well. I've worked for other folks, you know, and when I have to, I don't mind going back into the workforce and getting a gig, because I know how to do it, and I know that sometimes you just got to go get a job to bridge to your next opportunity. I think, you know, in hearing both of your stories, and it's Serena, correct?
Serena.
And hearing Serena's story, and in her, you know, multi-entrepreneurship endeavors, you know, it takes a lot of passion to transition from one to the next. And then, you know, with what you were saying, Maurice, and what you've said, you know, people understand, you know, there's a difference between like, hey, I want to be rich. No, I want to be an entrepreneur is a complete different conversation.
Right.
And I know that, you know, with me specifically in the multiple endeavors, I started off and because I wanted to have control my own destiny. So, you know, I own and operate a 10-piece salsa band called LPT Salsa. And you know, I've owned it for a number of years, and I've been able to learn the business of it throughout the years of experience and banging my head on the wall with previous endeavors. And that gave birth, we were looking for a really cool merch item, something, you know, other than a t-shirt. And that gave birth to this idea of coffee, because one of the members of the band is a coffee roaster, JP Salvat, who plays congas. He's a coffee roaster, it's his passion. And it kind of just happened naturally that it made sense. Salsa music, coffee, cafe, you know, it kind of just, it worked out.
Works for me.
Next thing you know, coffee is starting to take off. Now I'm handling 2 businesses, right? And I'm learning about each of those endeavors has one engendered the next. And, you know, I'm very grateful and thankful that I've been able to do a lot of different things, because I've yet to have an opportunity or a job or a gig that didn't teach me something that I'm applying today.
That's right.
You know?
Likewise.
Like things, anywhere you go. And I mean, and when I think about entrepreneurship, when I think about how stubborn you have to be able to
Very
see your vision out. And you know, there's gonna be people that gas you up, oh man, you got this, you're the man, and then they don't buy the song, or you know what I'm saying? Or hey, that coffee tastes fantastic. They don't buy the coffee. And you have to look past that and think long term, you know, when it comes down to your entrepreneurial endeavors, to really stay focused and be able to make something out of it. And when you make something out of nothing, it's a feeling like no other. I mean, we can all agree to that. You know, it's like. Yeah.
I'd love to add to what you were saying, because I think when you talk about looking at different things that you can do as an entrepreneur, I always tell students, especially, once you hone in, stick to something.
Yeah.
You know, just try to stick to something, be consistent and persistent. Yeah. That will lead to other opportunities.
Absolutely.
And Uncle Reese can tell you, I mean, he has now a fashion brand, he has online t-shirts, he has other things that spawn from sticking to music, right? Yeah. And just like you have other things that have come from sticking to what you've done. My speaking career, I mean, I have a speaking company, and I get paid to speak all over the world, and that happened by mistake. They wanted to hear this story about this teenage girl who just had these babies and did this thing and built this big company. And I was like, okay, my name is Serena and I'm speaking, and they keep calling me Serena Speaks LLC. That's the next company, you know, and then I traveled. And then after they hear you talk about it, they want to read about it. So I wrote a book and I have a book. And so we do that. And I teach methods that I've learned. And so that started training and development, and that started a whole nother company. So things are coming together, but you do have to be consistent and persistent. And then it's the mindset piece.
It is. We were talking about that last week. It's the mindset, because a lot of times people go into entrepreneurship, and that's why a lot of them fail, is because they're at the mindset, or they know someone. Everyone knows someone,
Everybody
right?
knows someone,
that made it like in a couple of months they were rich. Okay, same thing. I'm you know, my first 2 degrees are IT, so everyone knows somebody in IT that, you know, came out of college making 6 figures. Okay, that's the exception, not the rule. Most people got there because of the sweat equity they put into it. But there's unfortunately, a lot of people, entrepreneurs too, that just have that concept of somebody that's successful, and they think they're going to be that very shortly. And people don't plan for the long haul.
Correct.
I work with as part of my business, we do consulting, training and development, and we do business coaching. And you will be surprised how many people come to me and say, I don't know what's going on. We haven't made any money. And I ask them, how long have you been in the business? And a lot of times it's less than a year. And I said, so what did you plan for? When did you plan on making money? I said, I know I was very laid back in my business plan. And I only wrote it for myself because I wasn't seeking any funding, but I wanted to put something on paper, kind of my aspirations. But the first year I said, I'm not making anything. So when I got my first little money, I was like happy, right? So my business plans, but I also know I wanted to make more than that. And it's the perseverance. It's the, you know, staying with it. And a lot of times people just don't stay with it.
That mindset, you know,
Yes.
that mindset requires discipline. I mean,
does.
every single person that's sitting here right now understands that there's a discipline that's required to be able to keep your head looking the one direction when there's so many other things that are pulling you
Right.
in a million different directions, whether it's, you know, the requirements of a family, the requirements of you know, bills and debt and whatever it may be,
Right.
you know.
Or you see your friends going out and doing something else, and you're like,
Yeah,
I would love to
yeah.
do that, right? Instead of putting, you know, that mindset or learning more about what you're doing.
Right.
And
Educating
'cause
yourself.
you have to be a continual learner to be successful in a business.
I love, there's a quote by Eric Thomas. He's a motivational speaker, worldwide motivational speaker. And he has a saying, he's like, hey, I'm not as good as, this is his own words, so I'm not a hater, okay? So he said, I'm not as good as Tony Robbins. I'm not as good as Les Brown. I'm not as good as these people. I'm not the best speaker in the world, but they have never outworked me.
Yeah.
He said, I've been more consistent than anyone else. That's why I'm at the top.
Yeah.
And he's like, you don't have to be the most talented. I see people in my industry all the time. Well, in the music industry, I see people in business too. Like, they're not even necessarily passionate about what they do. It's just a great idea. It's something that people need or they want. So that consistency, it definitely is something that people don't take into account. You know, I've been consistently making music since I was in 7th grade, like consistently, every day. Get out of school, go to Josiah's house. We get on his mom bought him a karaoke machine, and we would get on that karaoke machine, and he had, you know, one of those old, those $99 keyboards that you could press the button, it'll so we were playing on that from 7th grade. And so, okay, in 7th grade, I don't know how old you are in 7th, bro, what, like 10, 12.
Something like that.
So from 12 years old to 30, I never saw a profit from what I did, but I still never stopped.
Right.
And I'll say this, I was at a place in my life where I was content with whatever I got from God. I was content with whatever came from it. I was okay with working a job I didn't like for the rest of my life, as long as I could still do what I loved, which was music. And you know, my wife, you know, Carrie, I really appreciate her because, you know, I tried to utilize her as an excuse to give up. And one thing,
And let you.
no,
God.
you know, I was like, hey, you know, babe, like, I want to take care of you. I'll put this music behind. And, my wife being a wise woman, she was like, hey, look, I'm not about to live with no 50-year-old guy that thinks he gave up on his dreams for me.
Yeah.
I need you to do what you got to do because, it's my wife. You know my wife. She was like, because honestly, only thing I need you for is your friendship. My wife made more money than me, so she's like, I have a master's degree. Like, I just need you to love me. Yeah. And so, I was content, writing songs. I had a song called Where I Belong, and this is before I said, I'm in the room writing songs, but I'm right where I belong, waiting on destiny to call on me, and I know it won't be long. I was in the room writing songs because I didn't have enough money to get studio time, so I was faithful to that notebook. I was like, well, I'm broke, so hey, I got $1, so I'll just write in this notebook, and so that's the consistency that you have to have in any business.
But that's what some people are missing.
Yeah.
Some entrepreneurs, I don't think they know the depth of what you have to give up. There's been many times that, I couldn't go somewhere where the family was gathering. I still, my immediate family, but maybe my extended family is doing something, and I'm like, nope, I got to be here. I need to do this, and I need to take this meeting because it can lead to bigger things. But I think sometimes people think they can have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
And initially, you bring up another point, and another quote that I thought about while you were talking is, do what you can where you are with what you have.
Yep.
And you have to be willing to do that. Being an entrepreneur, and unfortunately, social media makes it look
So attractive.
It does.
Oh my God.
It is like
photo shoots. I'm like, bro, how you?
they're renting planes and putting their names on them.
Yeah.
Like this is not for the faint at heart.
No,
this is.
absolutely not.
I have a quote that I share when I do my presentations, and it's a picture of me with my graduation cap on, holding these 2 babies, and my quote is, "You can cry, but don't you dare quit." And when I tell you, I felt like quitting 2 weeks ago. Let's be clear. There are times I have conversations. I have conversations with my girlfriend, and I'm like, I think I'm going to be a Walmart greeter.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to
much
quit.
easier.
I just need to do
You need
something
where it's
mindless.
It'll be
Right, you need
easier.
some
Yeah.
mindless.
I need
Listen.
something mindless. Nothing wrong with the greeters. We
Yeah,
need them.
that's right.
But I need to not think, and I want to not be in control of anything right now. I just want to say, welcome to Walmart. Like,
So you bring up a really good point, because a lot of times, a lot of us, and I think we got started young as entrepreneurs. It's something that was innate in us, and we're just like, hey, we're gonna go for it from a young age, and something that as entrepreneurs, I think we learn along the way. I wish I would have known early on, is how to take those moments and like breathe and be like, okay, man, I'm just not gonna conquer the world today.
Right.
Today's not the day. I need to step back. Let everything settle. Tomorrow I'm gonna pick it up again, and that goes to that determination and that that sort of focus, which is like, okay, let me take a breath. Because if you go 100 miles a minute every day, you're gonna burn out. And every one of us knows an entrepreneur
That's
burned
burned
out,
out,
and
right.
they just went hard, and they hit the wall, and next thing you know, it was just like, well, what happened to so and so?
But part of it is, I think, you don't allow yourself, or you don't give yourself permission to, okay, I need to take a moment. And as entrepreneurs, because you feel that if you let it go, or if you don't do it, if you don't do 120%, then you're not giving it your all. And you don't realize that you also, part of that is taking care of yourself.
And burn fast, or burn bright, burn fast.
Right.
Right. You need to be able to think of the long game in entrepreneurship. If you're thinking about just tomorrow, you are missing the point.
Right.
I mean,
It's the long haul.